Yo, hi. Welcome to the Safekeeping conversation series. Um, First of all, I just wanted to say thank you to everyone that has tuned in every Sunday night at 9. Um, it was a lot of fun to draw with you guys, and we were able to just chat and have a lot of fun, and it was all good, but quite truthfully, I was feeling like it was hitting a bit of a wall. Like I wasn't sure how much more of me drawing I could take. Uh, that sounds a little bit weird, but with an audience, with this opportunity to have conversations and engage with people, I felt like it was a bit selfish to just be drawing and have questions pop up about what kind of materials I was using and stuff. So I thought, the most engaging part of all those sessions for me was really you guys. It was really being able to talk to you guys and just go on tangents and stuff like that. So I took a week to just think about how we could really lean into that and to find a point of conversation that we could sort of like really get super juicy into and unfold and be silly and like have unexpected sort of like turns and stuff. So I ultimately came down to this idea of collecting. But I didn't want to talk about collecting art. I thought that me being a painter and having a community of artists as friends and stuff, I felt that was maybe a little one-dimensional. So what I decided and what I'm hoping to do is over these next few weeks is to have conversations with other creative people about collecting, that is collecting anything but art. It could be stamps, it could be baking utensils, it could just be anything. So I hope you'll join me on Sundays at 9. I don't know how long we're gonna do this for. I do have the next 3-4 weeks scheduled with some very interesting guests. I guarantee with some very interesting collections. But this week we are joined by a good friend of mine. He's like a big brother to me, Joel Gregorio. And I have no idea what he's going to show us today in terms of his collection. And that's the point. We're just here to chat and maybe hopefully unfold something interesting out of conversation. And let's see how it goes. And I just wanted to mention that the Instagram live does cut off in an hour's time. So at 10 sharp, it will cut off. If we just so happen to be in conversation and it cuts off, that is the end of this session. We won't be coming back on for like a 1.2 or 1.5. There is such thing as too much of a good thing. And if anything, it's more interesting if we're left on a cliffhanger. So let's get into it and stick around. We'll have that conversation, and the plan is at about the 45-minute mark. If it goes that long, we're going to open it up to some questions if you guys have something that you want to ask Joel, and we'll go from there. We'll just play it by ear. This is the first one, so honestly just don't even know how it's going to play out. So Joel, if you are there, I would love to bring you out. I'll have the roots play you in. Hi, everyone. Everyone but Joel. Let me check here. Maybe he's already requested. All right. I think Yo, Joel, what's going
Can
on?
you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, absolutely, dude.
What time is it there?
It's 3 in the morning.
Oh wow, that's crazy. That's a crazy time difference. The magic of the internet. There is no time.
That's true, brother.
There's
That's
no
true.
real time.
Yeah, man.
Can I start with a little bit of intro before we get into the collection?
Please, would you
So
like the intro or would you like to?
no, I'm gonna say a little something first about Joel and why I decided to have Joel on as the first guest. Um, firstly, Joel is very close to me, so and he is a big brother. So oftentimes I will call him, not just to have laughs, but just to ask him about what he thinks about something. So what I wanted to do with this like Sunday 9 p.m. slot, I was thinking about the collection thing, and I called Joel and even before I had the chance to ask him about what he would thought if I pivoted into this content, he said to me, because of this whole pandemic situation, that he's been reflecting, because time has stopped for the, ostensibly for the future, that he has been focusing on the present and he's been looking into his past. And it was crazy that you said that because um, a couple weeks before that, I was cleaning my shelves and I have a lot of these knickknacks and they are one type of collection that I have, and I was looking at these things and all these little things hold so much sentimental value, and it just like it just connected somehow when we had that conversation before I could even ask you what you thought about this whole thing. You just somehow knew like this was the vibe that we were in. We were just, thinking about the things that we keep in our lives that create this identity of who we are and the memories that we hold and possibly also what takes us into the future. And in a time right now where we have no clue what the future holds, I just thought we would be able to have some really interesting um, things to like go into, to just unravel, maybe just go into all these tangents that I hopefully get to a point where we start talking and things just don't make sense, because I think that's when things get really exciting, right? Um,
Yeah.
so so thank you, Joel. So thank you for being here, and I guess unless there's something you want to say to start things off, I'd love to know what you want to show us in terms of your collection, because I don't even know.
Awesome. Well, maybe to give a little bit of history and context to how Tessa and I have known each other. Um, I don't even know how to describe it, Tessa, but I think both of us were sort of in very transitionary kind of periods in our lives, and we were, I don't know, trying to find a feeling, trying to find a place. And so it felt like maybe part of the process of getting where we are today. And so the experiences that Tessa and I had in sort of our collective group at the time were really about trying so many different things out and I don't know, kind of living fully, right?
For sure.
So I think it's interesting now knowing each other. I've known Tessa in so many spectrums of his life, and one of the things I really respect and honor about Tessar is sort of the dedication to the thing that he does way past what the life is around it. So I've seen Tessar in sort of that beginning stage and transition and sort of the places he's lived and the kind of things that have grown around it to the point where he is now, where you've seen his art evolve and you've seen the things around him evolve, and you also see the places he lives evolve. And you know when I was thinking about my stuff, I was also thinking about what it looks like to people when they walk into a place and they know a person over time, and they see the collection, the things that they gather that represent them. And I always find that like the most fascinating thing about people is when you actually walk into their spaces, the things that they amass or the things that you might see in duplicate or even everything that's sort of like chaos, there's something in there that is, you know, really specific to a memory or a texture or a gift or any of those things that give that piece of meaning for that time. So a few of you have seen my place, a lot of you haven't, but you know, I have a very structured approach to the way I sort of collect things. So it was hard for me to actually bring pieces together. And, you know, Tessa, maybe I can ask you a quick question. Like, in your mind, if somebody were to ask you the things that you collect, what would be one thing that you'd say as something that outside of art that you actually collect?
That I collect?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I just wanted to say thank you for reading the script that I sent you about praising me. That was very nice.
Good.
But,
$5.
but if you were to ask me what it is I collect, you know, there are myriad of things, you know, that I feel like we collect everything, you know. In virtue of being a creative person, and I think a lot of creative people feel this way. We tend to hoard things, right? We hoard things because of their potential, but we hoard things because of maybe sentimental value. But I think at the core of all that, you know, if you look at the through line of all the different things that we collect, I think ultimately what we collect is stories. You know, like we collect experiences that we have within ourselves, but the experiences that we have with people. And truthfully, I mean, you know, not to like go super deep. We're like 15 minutes into this, but just 15 minutes into this, and I'm saying, you know, that we're collecting stories, but that's what it feels like for me. It's like that's the thing that actually ties in. No, regardless of what your collection looks like materially, the thing that carries all those things together are the sentimental things, the intangible things connected to those things, right? So, I mean, that would be my answer. But I also feel in some ways that's a bit of a cop out. Like it's a bit too broad, maybe a bit too like abstract of an answer. But I mean, that would be the first thing that
Yeah,
would come to mind.
I totally agree. And it's sort of like the different values of what those stories tell or say, right? I,
Hmm.
I think for me lately, it's very strangely in sort of like the films that I'm watching and like different themes and like even just this time alone, contemplation and no real forward momentum in like creating an event or a memory with people right now because it's all virtual, it's all distance, right? So you're
Right.
kind of at home and you're kind of living out memories. And I think that's the thing for me. And even I said to you like the other day, and I've said this, I don't know, I think I've said this to one other person, but it's like whatever, how you live right now or whatever you create right now as your present is investing in your past. And the reason why I said that was that, you know, sometimes people think about memories as sort of like a thing in the past. So it's sort of kind of maybe lost its value, or maybe the idea of living in the past uh, is maybe not is not the best way to live. But honestly, man, so much of my enjoyment right now is in reliving memories. It's like bringing them back and the feeling and the smell, the tangibility of that time, the person you were at that time. All of those things are so rich, and they're like, you know, like they get triggered obviously when you think, but when you actually collect little things, they bring you back to that time. Maybe the memory is not 100% bang on in terms of its technicality, but the sort of feeling of it, or the idea of the object capturing that memory, or it sort of being imbued in it, is really powerful for me.
Hmm.
So like, it's funny. I think for the longest time, the idea of the future's always been super hazy. Like I don't know what that feels like, and I have a little bit of a panic of it.
Mm.
But as sort of the trail of my past gets longer, uh, there's something really beautiful about going back to it and tending to it, and sort of like kind of walk through the gallery of these things and looking at them.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I think recently for me, memories have been a really beautiful thing, and although they can be sort of painful on the passing of things, or um, tragedies and stuff like that, I I think sort of the ratio of memory as value to me right now is really big and powerful.
That's
So,
amazing. I'm not even surprised that we're already like talking about these kinds of things. This is how, like for it's a very voyeuristic moment right now, but this is basically how my conversations with Joel go. Like we just we just get super into like nostalgia and like ennui and like just like the fogginess of living and also how all that stuff is beautiful. So I feel a little bit nervous, to be quite frank, about being very public about this.
you don't talk
But
like all the time.
what's that?
You don't talk like this on the regular.
Oh yeah, I'm just like, nice to meet you. Let me tell you about my trauma. But thank you, Joel, for also like opening up and being vulnerable and not to like rush you through this stuff, but I do really want to see, in the tangible ways that your memories do come alive. Like, I'm guessing your collection that you're about to show us relates to just like uh, they're like keepsakes. They're like souvenirs. Am I
Yeah.
wrong? Are you about to show us like a collection of baseball cards?
Best. I wish I had something that like I don't know. I don't even know how interesting these things are, but I mean, I can tell you the stories behind them. And I've been thinking a lot about this, about collecting, right? And it's weird because these times it's like the last thing you want to be doing is collecting. I think everybody's thinking about purging or simplifying, and so when I actually looked at the stuff I had, the way I sort of imagined collection was that if I were to ever sort of leave with a small bag of things that remind me of home,
Hmm.
or remind me of my life, or if somebody were to walk into an empty space and just see a small collection of things, that they would sort of tell a little bit of the story of who I am, or maybe, or at least sort of give hints to that.
Right.
So the things that I actually selected today, I don't know where to start, but
I
maybe.
mean, do you mind maybe if like is there a whole like I guess the unifying theme of your collection is it just like living? It's stuff that you pick up along the way. It's not like a collection that is based on like a specific theme, is there?
No, I was thinking about that, dude. And I think it was just going to come off as sort of disingenuous if I tried to theme it, or I tried to make a common thread in these things. I
Hmm.
think
Hmm.
even the idea of collection, like I feel like there's no, like there's consistency in some of these things I collect, but overall as sort of like a thing, when I put them all on the table, they're kind of all over the place. But I feel like maybe an essence of me is in all of it.
Hmm.
So maybe it's less about sort of the collection of consistency, but maybe it's the collection of a feeling.
Mm. Okay. I rock with
Uh,
that.
cool. All right.
Hmm.
Well, let me take a stab at this, man.
Yeah. Show
Uh,
show us in no particular order some things.
All right. Well, you know what? Like, I, for me right now, like memory is like a really is a powerful and beautiful thing. And sometimes it's really moving, and other times it's really painful. But in my mind, I try to make these things totems. So maybe the most powerful little things that sort of capture a feeling of protection right now. Um, these were, I don't know if you guys can hear this. So for those of you who don't know, my brother unfortunately took his life last year. And he was a really beautiful person. Music was such a big part of his life. And when it actually came to going to his home and sort of going through his stuff, it was really weird because I didn't want anything. Like I didn't want instruments. I didn't want electronics. I didn't want computers. I didn't want furniture. I didn't want anything like that. I wanted something that sort of captured who he was. And so really there are only three things that I took, and there were sort of like these really natural things that make a beautiful sound. And I hang them around my place, around like really powerful areas as sort of like protection things. This is another piece. I think they're like these, but they make a noise too.
Mm-hmm.
So like I put them in places where when there's movement, they make a noise. So they're kind of like a memory of him, but they're also a protection piece in my space. And sort of like, I always like things that have one thing, but they actually serve another purpose. So like for me, this is a beautiful sculpture,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but at the same time, you can see it's made by hand, and it just like, I don't know, how would you describe the sound?
It sounds like nature. It sounds like nature. Like it's a natural thing, right? Like it's not a man-made, like from what I can tell, it almost looks like a shell or something.
Yeah, it's like, I think there are seeds.
Okay. Yeah, it just sounds like I mean, I don't know, that sounds weird, but it just sounds like nature. It sounds almost like the wind or something, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, Wes is saying like rain, but yeah, I
Oh,
agree.
like rain, that's true. That's true. Yeah. So when you say you put them in a place where like they move, they make sound with motion, do you mean like a wind chime? Do you like hang them, or do you
Oh,
mean like you pick them up and you shake them?
it hangs on my door, so every time you
Right.
open the door, you can hear.
Wow. Wow, that's amazing.
So I don't know, does that fall under your collection protocol, dude?
No, it doesn't. You know what's amazing about what you've shown us so far is actually it sounds like, and I mean I could be wrong, but it seems like it's like you having gone through that that tragedy with your brother, like for you to find solace and for you to grieve um, in a way that was right for you. It's so beautiful that you were drawing from his collection. It's like, I mean, him being a musician, um, my impression is that these things meant something to him because of the sound that they produce, right? And his love and his joy for sound and music. So I love that you've collected from another collection, actually, and it really does speak uh, to your to your connection with your brother. And it's like it's not it's not a relationship that could be like artificially created. Like it just had to have happened that way. Unfortunately, in the way that it did. But I mean, it's poignant and beautiful, and it's amazing that you do put it in a place where, like you said, movement creates that sound, and so it is a reminder of your beloved brother. That's amazing, man. That's a great piece in your collection for sure.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, I think we all have pieces that, we either pick for ourselves or that are gifted to us. And so I sort of imbues them in their own meanings, which is really beautiful.
Yeah.
There's something about exactly what you said, Tessar, which is like to pick up somebody else's collection and
Hmm.
like their meaning and reasons for selecting something and putting it in their space and then it being passed on to you. So yeah, yeah, these.
Well, I mean, that's a super intimate thing, right? Like oftentimes I feel like if we looked at other people's collections, we would be like, "Oh, like I okay, I get it, but it's not for me," or like I see what you're going for, but to be able to really relate, I mean, that's a super super intimate thing that only I think, between loved ones. So it's so beautiful that you've had that opportunity, really. Yeah.
Thank you. I
Yeah.
mean, it's interesting, like, ever since you asked the question about collections, I've been thinking and looking at my shit and going, fuck, I have a lot of stuff, man.
Yeah.
Honestly, my deck, so I went from like pretty hardcore heavy um,
Okay.
with my brother's collection
Hmm.
to maybe the concept of a collection that eventually disappears.
Okay.
It sounds very cool, but it's not.
Are you gonna show us a magic trick?
I wish it was that good, dude. Uh, Honestly, for some reason, for the longest time, like there's something about everything Japanese that is just like crazy, just stuck in me. It's
Okay.
almost embarrassing because I don't know why. Um, but
It's Terrace House.
so the other part of my collection, so I went pretty deep. The other part is like I do collect Japanese whiskeys, and so
Mm.
I have a pretty extensive. I just brought down two.
Kushu and Hibiki. I think you need to socially distance that over here.
No doubt. I know what will be enjoying this after all of this. Um, but you know what? Like it's interesting because I'm pretty precious with this stuff, and like I almost keep it pristine, like it's just unopened on a bottom shelf. A whole bunch of these bottles that I look at and I love them full and packaged and mint. Uh, and I just realized, man, I'm just gonna start opening all of these and start sharing them with my friends. And so, like the second part of, I think, like if I think about the themes of collection, maybe that first part of collection was the idea of uh, the love of somebody and their collection and inheriting that and
Hmm.
that being part of something really valuable to you. The next part of the collection for me are things that sort of maybe speak to taste or the idea of selection or the idea of the story of things that really mean a lot to you.
Mm.
Um, I have friends like Matt C. You know Matt C. That
Who's
guy
that?
has
See.
the most crazy collection of these things, man. But you know what I love the most about them is that the bottles are in various degrees of enjoyment.
Mm.
I would watch that. I just go, man, see, that's the way to do it. And I think the idea also that if there's some things that you're collecting and like keeping super pristine or super safe or like saving for a fucking rainy day,
Hmm.
especially during these times, I think you just have to realize that there's no other time
Mm-hmm.
except now, and that you can, man, like I keep thinking, what's the event or what's the fucking thing that I'm going to
To
have
save that thing for.
that I'm going to save it for, and then
Yeah.
what, how am I going to make it worth it? And I don't know. I think it's the idea of elevating the simplest of interactions or transactions, not even transactions, like the simplest of conversations, and
Yeah.
making it special by popping a bottle and enjoying it with your friends. And I think, I have such good, amazing people around me that are so generous that I feel like, man, more and more, it's like my stranglehold on sort of keeping these things pristine, not necessary. Not
You know,
necessary.
I'm not calling you a liar on Instagram Live here, Joel, but
Thanks. Thanks.
I will say, for the people watching, that my experience with Joel has never been of him like having this like nice Japanese whiskey and being like, oh, but we're gonna save that for a special occasion. I've had instances, where I would just run into Joel and we'd pop into the studio on like a Tuesday afternoon, and he'll pop open like what I know to be, a rather expensive bottle of whiskey, and I'm a little embarrassed to say, but me being the opportunist that I am, I'm just like chugging that shit back, and Joel never stops. So I mean, I do appreciate um you saying all those things. I think you're bringing a good point about celebrating the present, and how you can make the present a special moment. But I just feel like I needed to say that, from what I know of you and my experience of you've never been one to be like, oh, this is for a special moment. I think you practice making the present special, um, on a daily basis, like on the regular. You know what I mean? So um, I just had to say that because it's true. It's true. I don't. It would be dishonest of me to just be like, yeah, 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 that's true. I would be totally remiss.
Yeah, man. No, no, I do love sharing shit. That's for sure. Like I don't know. It's just sort of inherent in my nature to elevate an experience,
Of
especially
course.
what I love. So yeah, definitely. I think maybe it's just kind of personally within myself. Like I'm very careful about enjoying things, and so I think that's the weird thing is I think I'm just coming around to this idea of sort of enjoying myself
Hmm.
or like allowing myself to enjoy these things without having to enjoy it with another person. Is that weird
Mm.
to say? You know what I mean? It's sort of like, yeah, I mean, it's an amazing thing to break a beautiful bottle of whiskey with a friend because, yeah, it's an amazing bottle. And then there's something about really opening that bottle for yourself.
Mm. That's true. That's true. That is different.
It's different, man.
That is different. Yeah.
And it's not a good look to get wasted on Habiki by yourself either, but
I mean, I wouldn't know because I just don't remember.
oh, fun.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah, man. Okay, so that second part of the idea of collection is the idea of collecting things that do recede. And I think that's interesting too, to have something in your collection that has a shelf life.
You know what's crazy, Joel? Just to break off for a second, like I had all these questions that I wanted to ask you, like what is the difference between a, collecting something that you collect yourself versus something that someone gives to you, and you preemptively answered that, and I was going to ask you about, is there something, a part of your collection that you're willing to part with, and how quickly and how slowly, and you preemptively answer that, so I just feel like so
Sorry,
lucky that we're
sorry.
having this conversation, and that you're doing all the work for me, and I just get to sit back and listen to you speak. It's awesome, man.
Thank you. Well, honestly, I didn't want this talk like obviously I really wanted to be open to share the stuff that I have, but I do believe in sort of like sharing stuff that universally has some sort of connection point to others, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, and sort of that sort of leads me to the third thing that I collect, and I'd have to say like it moves away from physical shit. So for me, music, like I have such a collection, and this is the thing that I've been doing recently is I've been sending out a playlist of sort of like a theme. So like the sun or the returning of the sun.
Mm-hmm.
And then I've been asking my closest friends to send me a playlist back.
Right.
And you did, and it's a fucking amazing playlist. And
Oh,
what
thanks.
I'm hoping to do is eventually share them. But, you know, again, if you think about memory and you think about like the somebody's personality or their taste or effervescence or whatever you want to get from them, man, music is like such a really interesting way to capture that.
No doubt.
So, you know, when I think about like a specific song right now, like I think about Lamp. It's Haruka Namakura
Mm-hmm.
featuring Jabez. Again, it's sort of like uh, Samurai Champloo, Nujabes
Okay.
kind of.
It's beats to study and relax to.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, but those hit hard though. Like it's a joke, but
Like honestly, man, like you gotta look it up. Dude, it's on the playlist I gave you. But
yeah, no,
if you guys look it up, like,
it was a sick playlist.
yeah, like
Yeah.
Lamp, um, Haruka Namakura featuring Nujabes.
Mm-hmm.
For me, if I were to really kind of speak of that feeling, it is that feeling of like taking off from everything that you know,
Mm-hmm.
being on that train, and you're looking out of the window and you're just watching the ocean and the sun dance on the water, and you've got no place to be, no time, like time, any of those constructs of expectation or being anywhere or any of those things, they disappear to the present of like, I don't know, the joy of being in the moment, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like for me, music is so important. Like I can't, music's like the umami. So like a moment might be already amazing, but if you add the right track to it, man, it's like it's so good.
Okay, okay. So I'm gonna interrupt for a second.
All right.
Another question that I wanted to ask you, and a question I'm gonna ask my other guests, you know, in the upcoming weeks. Sorry, I'm like totally spoiling it, but I was gonna ask you, what is the soundtrack to your collection? You know, and it doesn't have to be a song, but it could be a sound, like just a sonic quality, right? And so you've like named a specific song by Haruka Namakura and Nujabes, but like, and I know this is hard because you know it's like asking, you know, a dancer, you know, what is it about that move that you're trying to communicate? You know what I mean? Or like, why does the ballet hit you the way it hits you? Like it's you can't put it into words, but you know, we're people that like our futile acts. So uh, you know, I want to ask you as best as possible, like what is it about a song like that that gives you that, you know, that feeling of like, wow, I'm in this moment. I'm like, you know, looking out the window. I'm, you know, I'm feeling the this and that, and like,
Hold on though, you're confusing me. Like, did
no,
you
like,
ask if I had a soundtrack to my collection? Is that what you're asking me?
well, I mean, well, see, and that's okay. I can't ask you about the soundtrack to your collection. But I'm sort of like that was originally a question I was going to ask you,
Oh, okay.
but but now that you've mentioned that you literally have like a soundtrack as part of your collection, my question to you is, what are the qualities of the music that is important to you? Like what? I know it's a hard question to answer, but like what is it about is it like what specific sounds maybe? Like I know that's a hard one too, but like anything, just give me anything. We're here to just like throw shit out there. Like
Look,
I'm confused too. Amazing. I love it. No, I love it.
Marlo, what's wrong? You jumped in like halfway through the conversation.
No, yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Um, all right.
Okay, no, how about this? I'll pose
Okay.
it to you this way. What
All
is
right.
it about that one song that means so much to you? What are the qualities of that song? Is it the tempo? Is it the like is it a specific instrument in the song? Like
You know what? The way I think about it, dude, is like collecting music. When you collect things, right? So I collect memories. I collect whiskey that eventually will deplete and disappear. Collecting music is the idea of adding umami to an experience. And so sometimes when you're living something and music's part of it, then it sort of makes that experience heightened.
mhm.
When you're gone from that experience and you hear the music again, then it sort of takes you back to that place. For me, it's like sometimes sometimes it is a memory trigger, and then other times I need music to create a fictitious scenario for me. Like
Mm.
sometimes I need music to get fucking in the zone really hard, or sometimes I need music when I'm training hard, or I need music to calm my heartbeat. And like I don't know, I think I automatically think people need music that to that level, but to me it's like fuck, like man, when I'm with everybody and the right track hits, it's incredible. I remember even Patty once, she told me a story where she visited you in your tiny apartment
Hmm.
and you were having a hard time. I don't know if I'm telling the story right, but you were having a hard time, you were down, and she brought you some food and she just played you a track. And she said she was playing you this track and you slowly started getting more hype and more
Hmm. Hmm.
started fucking dancing. And it was like,
Yeah.
shit, man. Like there's nothing else that you know what I mean? There's nothing else you could have busted out at that time. Like
Mm.
that music is that language that you need to hit that level, man.
It's crazy because as you're telling that story, I know the exact song.
What was
I
it? What was the song?
I don't know I can't remember the name of the song, but it was a very summery song. It had like a, almost like West African sample in it, and like it sounded almost like remember when Jamie XX put out that track that had kind of like these like bells in them, like
Yep,
it had that kind of vibe. It was from like a SoundCloud artist. What?
I think so. When you remember it though, how oh shit, Nimit remembered it.
Is it Ryan Hemsworth?
Yeah. What was the
I mean,
track, Nimit?
maybe.
Yeah, I think it was, dude. I
That
think I think
that might be it. That might be it.
I think we all partied to that
Yo,
pretty
this
hard
is awesome because like we got people that could like Google for us.
that.
They're like fact checking. But yeah, but yeah, absolutely. Sorry to interrupt you, but
Yeah, what?
yeah, what? No, but yeah, the music like being a placeholder and being able to take you back to places and things like that.
Yeah,
That yeah.
that's the third thing.
Hmm.
Um, okay, now I'm gonna get even more boring.
What? Hasn't been boring, Joel.
I don't know, man. It's like, fuck, dude. Why do people collect things, you know?
Well, I know that's the interesting thing, you know, like, and everyone does it.
What do you, give me one thing you collect, man. I want to know one thing you collect.
I mean, if you're talking about material things, I collect like I collect these like little frog figurines and stuff, like little frog erasers, frog ceramics that I find on the way, like in my travels. I'll find like frog plush on the street. I'll pick it up. I'll clean it up.
Why? What's with
Exa-
frogs?
I
Incredible.
don't know. That's the thing. Like, I mean, you know, I think that's sort of also what's so interesting. Like, in just in my life in general, I think I've never really been interested as much about the answers as I am in the question, right? And so, in a lot of ways, I don't really want to know why frogs. It's just that I gravitate to that. Like, I have a collection of like elephant stuff too. Why? I don't know. It just like happened one day, right? And like sometimes like the more you know that it's like more unlearning you need to do. It's just a lot of unpacking, a lot of unlearning, and I like the fact that things are just like the way they are. They're like a mystery, and there's like a compulsion that is not really definitive, and you know that's what makes it interesting for me, right? So
Man, fuck, dude. I wish we had an opportunity to interview you because, I mean, to not, yeah, I totally get what you're saying, to not have
mhm.
a specific reason for stuff, but that makes me even more fucking curious. Like,
Well,
it's
but I
like,
mean, me too, though, right? Because like I don't know either, and I think that curiosity is what like propels that collecting forward, right? It's you get what I'm saying?
I don't know, I'm just laughing at fucking Marlo the troll.
I collect bills. Amazing. Amazing, amazing. I
Spoken
was
real.
I was like kind of checking out the comments and stuff, but I didn't want to like interrupt. You know, you were like on a wave for a second there.
Yeah, man, all good. Like,
Yeah.
um, Nimit found the track, though. I think everybody should listen to this track because honestly, for me, uh, I mean, just a story about Tessar. The reason why I love Tessar so much is because fucking
Come on, dude.
I told you this though, right? It's like the idea that there's people in your life that represent something more than just obviously the human that they are and all the things that make them who they are, but the way that they live represents something. And you know, all the people that I know represent something to me, but specifically to you, you were that guy that was willing to negate any outside life for the the creation of what you needed to create. And I've only known that from you from stories before knowing you, and then uh, knowing you as a friend and seeing you battle constantly and celebrate it constantly and live it constantly and question it constantly. Like, should I be doing this? I feel a lot about it. Sometimes I don't feel about it. Like, there's so much fucking ebb and flow to sticking with something. And you know, like the reason why like these things are important to me because they do represent something. They represent a memory. But I think like when I start thinking about people and collecting people around you, I think like that's a fucking crazy concept because you know they're reminders too. They're
Hmm.
memories of living shit together. They're aspirations of what you could be. They're
Hmm.
mirrors for you being like, man, I see so many things that are fucked up because I see them that way. And, you know, those relationships that you have really bring out that stuff. And so, you know, I know I'm kind of being weird about where I'm going about collecting this time. Honestly, like the whole idea of friends and even this thing about you, I think that's sort of my fourth thing. And that is, man, the people you have around you are going to be the people that really help define where you're going, can help you fucking figure out where you're at,
Mm.
can let you be stupid and have the patience to let you be stupid until you fucking realize that you're stupid and you go, I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
All of those things, I think, like, yeah, I like my collection, man. I got a good collection. Because at
Yeah.
the start, I had like fucking like little things here and there, and I was thinking about it. But, you know, as this conversation grows, dude, like, I honestly think the most important collectible things are the things that could be lost, or the things that can be consumed and gone and have like a certain impermanence or intangibility to it, man.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. For sure. For sure. It's the irony of it, right? It's like once you can understand and appreciate the value of letting something go, that's when you can really hold your collection close, right? That's when you see the extremes of that spectrum. You see what it feels like to not have a thing, to let something go. And so when you choose to hold on to something, it makes it that much more weighted, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think the thing that scares me is the collection of like these material things. If they're gone, do I lose my identity? You know,
Do
or
you?
who am I? I don't know. Like that's why I think I've been contemplating these things, and it's like I was gonna show my fucking ceramics collection. Like, wow, look at these fucking beautiful ceramics that I've selected from all the way around.
Yo, but don't downplay it though.
No,
Don't downplay it though, because it's real.
I definitely don't. I don't downplay it, but I wonder sometimes, like this stuff, Tessar,
Mm-hmm.
and like if this, like this, I I bought in Tokyo, and like these artists from southern Japan, they took a big trek up, and uh, they uh, they were just sort of showing their wares, and they were like these really humble guys. And
Mm-hmm. That's
this guy
beautiful.
had this really beautiful dipped piece that kind of had this really I don't know, imperfect situation
Yeah.
going on. Um, you know, like the sort of wabi sabi nature of a lot of these things.
Mm-hmm.
They're beautiful, and I like them because they're pieces of art, but you actually use them. Like
Yeah.
there's something also amazing about that. But I also fucking freak out because I'm afraid of these things breaking and being gone.
Mm-hmm.
So it's bizarre. Like I feel like these things I collect because I love them and they're beautiful and they're reminding me of a story and a time in my life and all of those things, and they're eclectic and they're kind of awesome to look at. But you know, as I kind of go through this conversation with you a little bit more, it's sort of like, yeah, maybe my stake isn't in all of these things. These things are sort of temporary right now.
Mm. I'm glad, man. I'm glad that through our conversation, you know, uh, I mean that's what it's about, you know. That's why these conversations are so important. Like I I never, or I shouldn't say never, but I rarely come to a point of realization in its highest form on my own. You know, I feel like at best, you know, like everything is through a working out of ideas, and you do that through conversations. You do that through dialogue, right? And man, what a like great way for for this whole thing to kick off, man. Like I'm sorry, like I'm not trying to wrap it up. I'm just seeing that we have like 4 minutes, and before we get cut off,
Yeah.
I don't think we'll have time for questions. But I just needed to say, thank you so much, Joel. Like, I didn't, I didn't expect, and I also didn't, you know, I didn't want to put you in any sort of position where you felt you needed to speak on or to share any more than you were willing to. But, just, uh, how you took us through your collection. I mean, especially, with what happened with your brother in this past year, it just speaks to, your generosity. And and thank you. I know it's a little bit strange that, we are like in this like public thing, and that we're trying to have this conversation that is like both intimate but also aware of like a viewership. And I don't know, like honestly, I'm blown away. Like thank you so much. I wish we had another hour, but I said from the get-go that that the 1 hour is what we have. And and I love it because that just means that we have so much more to figure out next time we chat. Which honestly, I'm just gonna call you after this live to thank you personally again. But you know, I don't know. Is there anything you want to say? Like maybe I didn't want to cut you off before you finished talking about your collection, but
No, honestly, Tessar, thank you, man. Like when you asked me this, it was hard because I wasn't too sure what I collected. And so this actually made me very present about these things and very kind of like, am I going to be sort of prescriptive in what I say, or am I just going to really share this shit hardcore?
hmm
And I also was honored that you would sort of asked me to be on this maiden voyage. But I think in the end, like when I think about this for other people, like it's the, I hope that all of us have a little bit of time to contemplate and to think about the things we collect and to think about the things that maybe we don't need to collect or the things that actually mean something for us. And like when I see fucking the beautiful people in the thread, like I remember, I know so many of you. I don't see very many of you very often, but man, like, fuck, let's try to connect more. Like these things are inanimate. I love them. Like I have a beautiful fucking rock collection, shell collection. I have like all of these things, but these are beautiful memories in their own spaces. And then they're like living memories and like living collections. And I think there's something really beautiful about balancing those things.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It is crazy, like, trying to keep the COVID talk to a minimum, but it is amazing that in this time, we as like humans or what have you, we have this like this ability to adapt, and we're seeing that play out in a way where if we are forced to be in this crisis, we actually reach out, right? We reach out to the people that we love, and the people that mean the most to us. And thank you for saying that about the people in this IG, in this live, and for inviting for connection and stuff. I think we just need so much more of that. And who knows what it's going to be like once we get out of this lockdown and this state of emergency and stuff. But I hope it's something different, right? I hope it's something better.
Yeah, dude. Well, we can make it. We can make it so.
Wow, that's powerful.
I'm cupping your face right now.
I'm cupping my own face right now. Okay, so IG Live is literally saying 25 seconds remaining.
All right.
So
That's it.
let's call it before we get shut down.
All
Thank
right.
you so much, Joel. I
Thank you,
appreciate your
Tessa.
time,
Fun.
and I'll see you guys next week. This is gonna be a hard one to follow, I think.
Whatever.
Yeah.
It'll be good, dude. It'll be good. I'll be tuning in.
Bye, guys.
Okay.